How about that? We are completely on time right here at the top of the hour. That's something that Brent and Mike will always give you guys. So, welcome everybody here to our webinar this evening. I know everyone's going to be filtering in here a little bit. We've got a good group tonight, so I'm very excited for this presentation. Brent Bargan and myself, we are going to be talking about private practice power moves, and it's not just, marketing. It's not just about winning patients. It's about winning talent. And I'm really, really excited for this topic because this is something that I've been talking to a lot of my doctors about as well too. Is how's your website like attracting the right people into your practice to work for you? So, very excited to begin. I'm just going to give this about another 15 moments, let everyone kind of settle in, get their popcorn ready to go, and then we will kick this off momentarily. Brent, how are you doing this evening?
Great. Yeah, thank you guys all for joining in. Like I said, Michael and I are very excited to host this with you guys tonight. I think we've got a great audience tuned in here, and we look forward to answering any questions you guys have too at the end of this.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, so everyone, let's dive in here and begin. So, first of all, I wanted to, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Michael Antozzi. I oversee practice growth consulting with MyAdvice. Give you a bit of our company background. We have been in really the fee-for-service healthcare space now since 1998. We currently work with over 3,000 independently owned healthcare practices all throughout the United States, really focusing really on one main effort, which is how can we make driving practice profitability? How can we make that easier through the elements of your online strategy? We have platforms that will help to develop your website, do a bunch of stuff that we can help you out with driving Google visibility through reviews, listings, content optimization, social media. That's everything what we do. As director of practice growth, I've been in this industry for about 15 years consulting. I regularly present at meetings like the Aesthetic Show, LAMCA, AmSpa, AAD, you name it. I really have seen it within healthcare as well as aesthetics. And so pleasure to be with you all here this evening. As we dive in here, guys, so just to kind of set a bit of an expectation, Brent and I are going to be co-presenting. There's going to be some different topics that Brent is going to focus on that I'm going to focus on. We're going to go back and forth a little bit. At the end, we will save some time for a Q&A. So if you do have some questions on anything that you're going to be hearing here this evening, please feel free to pop them into the chat. Brent and I can address them momentarily. I will also be moderating this as well, too. Without further ado, though, I want to recognize my friend Brent Bargan. Brent, you're an amazing presenter. You are incredibly on top of it with all my interactions that I've had with you. It's a pleasure to share the screen here with you this evening. So Brent Bargan has played an integral role in the growth and development of MyDermRecruiter since joining the team as Director of Operations in 2021. As a talented team member, strategic planner, as well as a financial expert, he now serves as the Vice President of Business Development for the nation's largest dermatologic recruitment firm. That's a pretty big deal. In 2021, Brent graduated from the University of Missouri, Columbia, with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with a focus on finance. And prior to joining DermRecruiter, he had acquired more than 10 years of business development, finance, as well as management experience. Today, Brent serves as the initial point of contact for new clients and often job seekers. He utilizes strong communication skills to present best practices in recruitment and job seeking at dermatology residency programs, conferences, and practice management meetings as well, too. Brent is exceptionally skilled at motivating his team to work together towards a common goal while ensuring that they have the resources and support that they need to succeed. He continually seeks ways to improve processes and increase efficiency, ultimately meeting and exceeding client and career seeker expectations. Overall, his dedication, experience, expertise, and leadership have driven MyDermRecruiter's business success, making him a truly invaluable team player with uncapped potential. Did I miss anything there?
Nailed it. No, thank you for the kind introduction. Like I said, I appreciate it a little bit. Michael kind of hit on all the top points. MyDermRecruiter, similar company to MyAdvice as well here. Good parallels there with us. We've been in business for about 10 years now. As Michael said, we are the largest dermatology recruitment firm in the nation. We actually host the largest dermatology job board nationwide. Right now, we're representing over 1,000 jobs nationwide. So we've got a lot of opportunities that we represent out there. We've seen a little bit of everything out there, but today's webinar is specifically designed for the private practices and how do we compete, with the big private equity firms out there. So I'm really excited to present with Michael today and just kind of share some strategies and vision with you guys today.
Awesome. Well, Brent, why don't you kick it off? I know that you wanted to talk a little bit more about the talent gap within private practices. And so why don't we begin there?
Perfect. Let me share my screen here with you guys. Okay. Okay, so like Michael said, first and foremost, bridging the HR and marketing gap in private practices. So private practices face fierce competition from large PE-backed groups out there. PE is not going away anywhere. We can't hide from it. We can't just, hope that, one day everything will be okay. It's today is all about how do we be proactive and, face this head on to be competitive in the ultra competitive landscape that is, dermatology and aesthetics out there. I would say right now, our company alone, we probably represent 50% private practices and 50% private equity out there. So there is a pretty, split right down the line here across the country of, what types of practices are out there. And so just because you're competing against some of these bigger practices does not mean that you can't be competitive with them. So how do you recruit and retain the top talent that's out there? Well, it's going to require more than just competitive pay. Everyone is paying, top dollar out there today. If you're not, you're already left behind. So today is not about, talking about what's the right amount to pay. Like I said, that's a whole nother conversation we can go into if you guys have questions later. But I really want to dive into, more of the kind of the softer skills of how do we blend HR and marketing to work in sync to strengthen visibility, culture, and brand reputation? So our goal today is to equip you with strategies to both compete and thrive in today's environment out there. So what are candidates seeking in 2025? It is changing rapidly out there. And again, a lot of this is firsthand experience that we see because we talk to both the candidates looking for jobs and the practices seeking to hire. So we want to kind of blend in the middle today here and kind of come up with what are we exactly looking for. So let's start with providers first. When I say providers, I'm meaning the physicians and NPs and PAs out there. So first and foremost, like I said, beyond the paycheck, what are they looking for? Flexibility is a huge thing with providers. A lot of times what we're seeing now is a lot of people don't want to work five days a week. Now they're coming in, okay, we want to work somewhere between 3 and 5 days. Are you able to be flexible with schedules for these providers? If they, as long as they're telling you in advance, how many days are they able to work? Let's get that on the schedule. Then we can, still forecast out 3 months ahead of time, what our revenue is, what our patient base can be, and things like that. Supportive leadership out there. Are the providers able to come to leadership? Do they know who the right person to come to? Is it the practice administrator? Is it the physician owner that they need to be speaking with? Make sure that you have very clear and outlined processes for who the providers should reach out to whenever they have questions for you. Robust clinic cultures, and I want to emphasize, on the robust clinic part of this as well. And Michael, I think will dive, a lot more into this as well too with different marketing strategies later. But when someone walks into your practice, does it look like, is the wallpaper from 2001 still? Have we updated the lights in the office still? Is it dingy in there? What does it look like? Have you taken the time to invest in your practice and make sure that, you have the robust clinic? You've got a good culture that people come in and they're smiling around the office. You're not hearing, things clattering around in the background or, hustle and bustle, in the waiting room. Make sure you've got all of this outlined clearly. Autonomy. This is a huge thing. No one wants to be micromanaged, right? I don't want to be. Michael probably doesn't want to be either. Leadership is important, but make sure that you entrust your employees to do the job that you've hired them to do. I can't stress that enough. No one wants to feel like they've got someone looking over their shoulder, every step of the way in the office. Work-life balance. This is kind of it's a cliche thing, but it's super important. Everyone says it, but does everyone actually do it? Absolutely not. So it's important that you guys actually do have that work-life balance. Do fun things outside the office too. Summertime, have a barbecue lunch with your employees one day, knock off early for the afternoon or do something fun on the weekends with people too. Something that just breaks up the mundane Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 or 9 to 4, whatever your guys' schedule is. Make sure there's something else that, you're able to provide your employees as well. Growth pathways. Do you have pathways to partnership in your practice? That is a huge advantage that we'll kind of dive into more later on of how you compete with private equity as well. Make sure that these physicians know or the providers know exactly what the path to leadership is in your company. Kind of breaking that down into MAs next. What are MAs and support staff looking for? They're a little bit different. They're looking for predictability. Honestly, they don't want to show up to the office guessing well, are we going to have 20 patients today? Are we going to have 40 patients today? What's the schedule look like? Is it full one day and then, the other day we're sitting around twiddling our thumbs? Make sure that there is a predictable schedule for the support staff. So that way they know what they're coming into each day. Like I said, that's why we schedule far out in advance. Culture fit. Make sure that you're hiring the right person as well. You're not just trying to plug and play anybody into the process with you guys. You're trying to make sure that they're a good fit. Recognition. This is huge as well. One small thing that our company does is we make sure that we recognize all the anniversaries in the company. Every time we have a team meeting, we're recognizing anniversaries and even birthdays. One little small thing that I know we do is that if it's your birthday, you get the day off of work for you if that falls during the workday. And I can't tell you, just it's such a small little token of appreciation, but how much our employees appreciate that and how far that goes. It's one extra day a vacation for them. But like I said, just the little things like that go into helping so much what people are looking for there. So, but why are private practices struggling to compete out there? One, you have limited tools and time for recruiting. So especially if you're a small private practice, if you have just, one physician owner and, maybe only one support desk person, how do you possibly have time to do all these things? Make sure that you are forecasting and scheduling ahead. Reactive hiring leads to rush decisions and costly delays. So many times we see the mistake of practices calling us, hey, we just lost a provider even though they gave their 90-day notice 90 days ago. We need to hire immediately. Do you have somebody next week for us? That is not the world of, dermatology and aesthetics that we live in. We'll kind of get into um, time to hire a little bit later, but make sure that you are proactively aware of what your recruitment needs are. So that's, I mean, you should be looking into 2026 now and kind of forecasting what your needs are. Because if you come back to us, in December, or you put an ad out on Indeed or LinkedIn, wherever on your website, hey, looking to hire, we have an immediate need for a physician or NP or PA. It's a process to hire. So make sure that you have complete thought out decisions and rely on, companies like MyDermRecruiter, MyAdvice to, forecast these things for you guys. We are here as a resource for you guys, and we're here to help. What are PE groups doing that's different? They're able to leverage polished branding and structured onboarding. So what I would say to compete with that, so can you. Make sure you have what I call a day 1 plan, a day 30 plan, and a day 90 plan. Make sure you're sticking to that plan whenever you hire anybody, whether that's a physician, an NP or PA, or an MA. Everyone should have clear and concise outline goals of what it is that they're expected to. If there's no expectation set, how do they know if they're successful or not? So make sure that you know exactly what that is that you want them to be doing on day 1, on day 30, on day 90. How many patients do you expect at each one of those integrals? And then you can keep building that out, as well. Make sure you're constantly checking in with your team, whether it's monthly or quarterly. We always advise, sitting down, having one-on-one meetings with your staff to make sure that, they can voice concerns, any questions that they may have about anything. So communication is the key to success, honestly. So with that, I'll kind of kick it back to you, Michael.
I love that. I was actually, you talked about like reactive hiring. I was actually at a business conference this past weekend in Chicago. One of the main themes that was really discussed was you have to hire slow and fire fast. Getting the right people, making sure that you're making those investments into the right people, that has such an impact in terms of how the practice is going to grow, how it's going to drive more patient lifetime value. All
Yep.
that's really fantastic. Totally resonate with what you just said there. So, Brent, you gave us a good baseline here. What I want to talk to you about really is the power of first impressions and how you're coming across, because so many times doctors, they think about marketing, practice owners think about marketing, about how many patients can we bring in, and they oftentimes neglect really about how the first impressions are also helping to attract the right talent into the practice. uh, Brent, I'm kind of going to put you on the spot here, but just humor me for a little bit. So my wife is a dental hygienist, and with that as a given, she works at two different practices. We used to live in LA. We were there for about 16 years. One practice was in Beverly Hills, and this is all the information I'm going to give you. It was in Beverly Hills, served a lot of like high end celebrity practices. Another practice that she worked with was in the Valley in Woodland Hills, a little bit more suburban. Just based around those credentials, what practice do you feel like my wife preferred to work at?
I would guess she enjoyed the more suburban.
Why?
practice, because I think that they probably pay attention to the culture fit and the things that probably mean the most to her. Whereas the high end, it's probably, the revenue is probably great in there, but it is probably a very turn and burn factory like environment there where they probably skip the small things with them and oversee that.
You are like 90% correct on everything that you just said. But yes, she did prefer the Woodland Hills based practice to Beverly Hills. But here's the thing about Woodland Hills. When my wife showed up to work, it was a well oiled machine. She was able to show up. She had her schedule that was full. The patients were calm. There was no stress at the practice. Like she just loved working there. The Beverly, and by the way, like they had an amazing marketing strategy. They had a great website, a good online visibility, et cetera, et cetera. The practice that was in Beverly Hills, it was very stressful. It wasn't just because of the clientele, but it was really due to the demands of the practice owner. You know, in an average dental practice, I know again you're within dermatology, but just to kind of give everyone a bit of a landscape, hygiene should account for about 30% of a practice's revenue. In other words, 70% of the revenue really should be coming from the doctor in the cases that they were converting. At the Beverly Hills practice, hygiene was 50% revenue. So my wife was grinding constantly, constantly, constantly. And the doctor was saying to my wife, "Is like, look, you need to send me new cases, new cases. I need more new cases." And my wife said, "I can't give you more new cases. All the patients that we have at the practice are well cared for. They're well taken care of. Doctor, we need more new patients to come into the door if you need to be diagnosing new cases." And consequently, that practice was really just relying on their location. It was relying maybe on word of mouth, but they had a really crappy internet presence. The website sucked. It looked poor. It wasn't really nurtured well. And so, again, it was really no wonder what patients were gravitating to. But keep in mind, that also has a precipitous downfall in terms of how it's affecting your staff, the stress levels that they're taking home. I was giving a ton of back rubs every time Chelsea was in Beverly Hills because, again, she was just so overworked. And that had a negative impact in terms of just how she was really living her life. So, guys, first impressions matter well. Frankly, they're everything in terms of how you're going to drive not only just leads and patients, but frankly, revenue into your door as well, too. Let me start to share my screen here. And as we start to dive in, I want everyone, and I'm going to kind of take you guys through a bit of an exercise just in terms of the power of first impressions. Okay. So I was giving this lecture a few years ago. I think I was at either AmSpa or the Aesthetic Show. But a doctor comes up to me and he tells me that I've got a huge problem in my practice. And I said, all right, well, talk to me a little bit more about like, what's your problem? And he says to me, he starts off by telling me, listen, Michael, I'm just going to tell you right now, I am the best Botox injector in Calgary. I've been doing it for over 15 years. My results are perfect. They're natural. My patients are thrilled with the results. And I'm just going to tell you that I'm the best at that. And I said, okay, you have a problem. Talk to me about your problem. He goes on to tell me the story that about 6 months ago, a newer practice had moved into town a few blocks away from him. And this practice, the two owners did not have the credentialing that he had, did not have the experience that he had. But yet he was noticing that ever since this practice had moved in, he's doing less Botox consults. And because of that, he was really using Botox as a loss leader to convert patients into other services at his practice within lasers, body contouring. So it was really having a trickle down effect in terms of how he was driving revenue. So I said, all right, great. Thank you for sharing that with me. Let's take a look at your website. Let's see what's going on. And Brent, I opened up his website and immediately I knew exactly what his problem was. And that's what I said to him. And he goes, well, how can you get done telling me that how can you tell me what my problem is? You just spent like 2 seconds looking at my website. I'm like, yeah, that's all the time that I needed. And he was really eager. He was like, well, what's happening? Tell me. And I said, listen, doctor, you just got done telling me that you're the best at facial injectables in Calgary. No one does them better than what you do. Your results are perfect. They're natural. Your patients love you. He's like, yes, absolutely. And I said, I hate to tell you this, but your website sucks. And guys, this was like a dinosaur website. I mean, it was built from back in the 90s. It had one of those like website ticker counters that was on there. Brent, to use your analogy from earlier, like the wallpaper looked like it was still on there from like the 1980s. I mean, it was just a very poor looking website. Despite how great his credentials were, It wasn't helping him to attract new people into the door. I looked at his competitor's website. It was bright. It was vibrant. It had great images, a great je ne sais quoi, if you will. It just looked as if they cared about how they were coming across. And this is also to how you attract talent to your practice as well too. When's the last time you've looked at your website and thought to yourself objectively, looking at this website, does this look like a place that I would want to work at? Does this website look well structured? Does that help to indicate a message or saying that, hey, listen, if I care about this, I'm probably going to care about you as my employee? It's so shocking and surprising how great credentialed some of my clients that I see in this space are that are coming across in the most poorest way. So guys, we're going to do a little bit of a test here and get your keyboards ready. I'm going to show you 6 different websites. They're going to be numbered 1, 2, 3 across the top, 4, 5, 6 on the bottom. And these are all top ranking aesthetics websites in their local markets. And people make decision on coming to your practice. Potential employees make decisions on whether they want to work at your practice within 2.9 seconds. That is actually the hard data in terms of, are people going to continue to engage with you or are they going to leave? And guess what? If they leave your site, you're losing that talent. You're losing the ability to attract top talent into your door. You're losing also the ability to attract great patients into your practice. So get your eyes ready, get your keyboards ready, just based around that timeline, 2.9 seconds. Tell me which are the practices that you would like to work at based around how the websites make you feel. Okay, I gave you guys a little bit longer than 2.9 seconds, but humor me here. Tell me, guys, get your keyboards ready, put them into the Q&A, put them into the chat, what have you. Based around what you just saw, which is the practice that you would want to work at? Oh boy, we've got a shy group here. Come on, everyone. Okay, Michelle, thank you. Michelle says 6. All right, let me go back here again. And if I were to give you guys a second choice, make a decision, which is the practice that you would want to work at? It's likely that you're going to say number 6 as well as number 2. Now, again, guys, these are all number 1 ranking websites in their local markets. And so again, these are the first impressions that potential employees are going to have of your practice and working at your practice. Number 1, if we take a look at this, it's just so saturated with white. It's white background, white text. Nothing's really like very powerful about it in terms of what I see here. Number 3, they have an adage in marketing as well as recruitment that says a confused mind says no. And as we take a look at this, boy, golly, there's just so many different levels of navigation. You have navigation on the side. You have like 3 levels of top navigation on the top. Where do you really go to? Again, it's just super, super busy. Number 4, I probably could have created this on a chat GPT or something like that. My 5-year-old probably could have done this. Number 5 here, as we take a look at this, guys. Again, these are top-ranking websites for aesthetic services. Botox, lasers, what have you. The first image that we see here, what is this? It's of a product. So again, if you're trying to say convert a particular either patient type or even, again, getting that right type of potential employee into your practice, how is the messaging of your website saying about you? What is it actively saying? But as we look at number 6 and number 2, guys, these websites, they're the most visual. They tell us a story without saying much. It gives us a sense of quality. It gives us a sense of just an energy that we really want to be a part of. And that's what good marketing very simply has to do, is make those connections within a very, very, very limited time window. And I'll share with you guys, these are a few websites that we have built here for some of our other clients. And take a look at this website here, for example. This is an aesthetics practice that we work with in Massachusetts. They have 3 different locations, actually 4. They just opened up their 4th here. But a lot of practices, they're getting into this narrative storytelling about their practices through the use of videography. Now some might say, I don't like to see maybe an injection kind of getting squeamy, but this guy's smiling. He looks very, very happy. You're seeing the people at work here. it's giving you a sense of, boy, they are craftspersons. They are in love at doing what they're doing, and they're great at doing that. If you didn't have the time to be able to create great videography like this, do you at least have great images of you and your staff that's on the website? Does it look like everybody showed up to work today? I look at an image like this, everyone did show up to work. That means that the main providers, they're taking care of their people, they're taking care of their family. It's like the whole Southwest model. Southwest views their employees as their primary customers, and the passengers on the plane are the customers of their employees. And so, again, it's having just a great vibe and essence, and what is the story that your practice is really telling. Now, as good as a website has to be, it also it also has to convert efficiently. You never want people to land on your website, especially with potential employees, and they're browsing around, they're going around, and they can't find a phone number. Nothing is going to be more annoying for that potential employee or even that patient to just go all over a website to be like, gosh, how do I get in touch with this practice? Um, do you have any type of AI chat integrations that could perhaps do a lot of the engagement or the responding for your practice as well too? There's a big push right now, guys, in digital marketing in terms of how AI chats can really help to create more instant engagement, either with potential employees that are inquiring through your website or even potential patients. And so, again, is your practice able to utilize that? We actually feature very robust AI chat tools when we create websites as well too, that help to do a lot of the engagement for you. So, for example, do you have a hiring page on your website? Are you talking about your job descriptions? What the role might be. Guess what AI can do is it can understand that content that lives on that page of your website. And when potential employees are inquiring, this chat integration can actually talk about that content in a very robust manner as if it's an actual patient. I'm sorry, an actual person on the other line. So again, guys, I'm going to talk a little bit later about now the power of Google reviews, but hopefully you can at least understand that your website says so much in terms of who you are, what you value, how you invest. And it doesn't matter how great your credentials are. If that's not something that you're actively selling well, you're bypassing the right talent. You're bypassing the right patients that can really come into your practice to help to make you much more profitable. With that, Brent, I'm going to pass the ball back over here to you. Are you there, Brent?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Okay. Okay. So this is kind of honestly just expanding on what Michael was saying here, and then kind of leading into what we're going to talk about coming up too here. So just to kind of reiterate again, recruiting in 2025, what's changed out there? Culture, flexibility, and online reputation are everything. It far outweighs pure compensation. Like I said, everyone is paying around near the same price in your area now, because if you're not, you're just going to be left in the dust immediately. So like I said, how do we make your practice come to life other than just, numbers on a paycheck for your employees? Like Michael said, candidates are Googling you. I won't dive too much in depth into this, but just understand that reviews, social media, and leadership bios, they are essential to your website. If no one knows, if I go and Google your practice and nothing comes up or there's no reviews, I don't know how reputable you are. How long have you been in business? Do you have 3 reviews on there? If I see that you've got 100 4 to 5 star reviews on there, I'm way more likely to click on your website, even rather than just moving on to the next one. And like Michael said, I'm probably nicer, I guess, than most people. If he 2.9 seconds, I'll give it at least 6 seconds sometimes on a website and really dive in. But like I said, from the 3 to 6 second mark, and I had no idea honestly what the answer to Michael's questions were. My first answer was 6, my second answer was 2 on there. So the human brain we're all wired very similarly, so those things matter. So make sure that you like what you see. Go and Google and look at what your competitors are putting out there. It's okay to cheat on the test here and see what else everyone is putting out there. You don't want to look the same as them, obviously, but if you go and look at your competitor who's down the street or across the block from you, and you're like, oh man, like my eyes are way more glued to their website, maybe we need to invest in that a little bit. Another huge thing, leadership bios, especially for small private practices. I cannot tell you, even how many times when I'm consulting with practices, and yeah, the physician owner is on there, but I don't know, who the CEO or CFO or practice administrator is because they don't put them on the website. The provider is oftentimes seeing patients throughout the day. Who do we contact when they're seeing patients? Who else is the decision makers for the practice there? If we don't know that, how are we supposed to reach out with questions? One missed call could be, the key to a ton of missed revenue down the line for you. So make sure that you are easily accessible. And like I said, it's not just about filling roles, it's about building a place where people want to stay. Make sure we are continuing to build that culture. We're going to keep harping on that as we go through this the entire time. Let's see here. Now, I think this is a very fascinating slide here. Hidden costs of ineffective hiring out there. So many times people don't think, or they think, gosh, it is expensive to hire. We could just keep doing what we're doing. A lot of times the status quo is easier to do. But the practices that are succeeding today out there are the practices that are not afraid to push the limits, to step outside their comfort zone out there. Each open position is lost revenue, and it leads to more burnout on your team as well. How many practices out there are you hearing, or yours as well, that like, okay, we're booked 3 months out, we're booked 6 months out. What are you doing to help those providers? Is it just like, oh, well, we're busy, we're constantly booked out, that's a good thing for us. We can go back and tell the owners that, we've got a full schedule. Great. But what if you hired? What if you, took the time and invested in hiring, whether it's another provider, whether it's a physician, NP, PA, or maybe you need more support staff, maybe you need more MAs to help the providers see more patients a day out there as well. It could be any level of hiring. Make sure that you are taking the time to look at that. And also make sure that it's the right hire. It's like I said, it's not the first one in the door that wins the game. It's the right one in the door that wins the game. For you guys, bad hires impact staff morale, patient satisfaction, and turnover. So many times we see people rush to hire, and it takes time. Everyone knows. Every single person on here probably has been in charge of hiring somebody or onboarding them, and it's a pain in the butt. I know it is. It's the same way for every company out there. Like, it takes time out of your day that you have to spend training somebody. But do you want to keep doing that same cycle, every 3, 4, 5 months because you just rush the first person in the door? Absolutely not. So make sure that it's the right person. Make sure you're doing your due diligence. Whenever you're hiring, make sure you have a very stepped out process of, okay, this is someone applies to your job today. Do you know what the process is when you're interviewing them? Who do they speak to first? Is it the practice administrator first? Is it the physician owner first? Are you both on a Zoom call with them? Make sure you have that lined out. How soon would you like to bring them in on site to interview on site? If they're on site, are you prepared to give them, a term agreement on site if you like them? Or do you have to, hey, hang on, we got to go back. I got to find a lawyer now because, we haven't hired somebody for 5 years. So I have no idea what to write, in a letter of intent for somebody. Make sure you have all of this done beforehand, because I can tell you, especially in our business, time is money with what we do. The more you spend on, or the longer things take, you're going to lose these providers out there. There are so many job opportunities out there in dermatology and aesthetics, as you all know here, that if you're not getting back to them, guess what? Your competitor across the street is. And by the time maybe you get that LOI or term sheet to them, it might be too late if it took you 3 to 4 weeks to get that to them. So make sure you are ready to go. Time to fill in derm and aesthetics. I think this honestly is the absolute minimum. Sometimes, especially for NPs, PAs, and providers, especially 90 to 120 days is probably the minimum. So you need to be prepared, especially with, provider recruitment. That honestly, depending on where you're at, if you're in a more rural area of the country, you need to prepare for 9 to 12 months that it's going to take to hire somebody. If someone calls you and say they're graduating in 2026, don't hang up the phone on them. If it's a resident, if they've got, ties to the area, make sure you're talking to them, because guess what? If you tell them no today and then 6 months go down the line and it's, January, February of next year, like, oh my gosh, I probably should have at least had a conversation with them. Well, guess what? Someone's been talking to them for the last 6 months. So they're gone. And now you just lost 6 months of communicating with people. Early alignment between HR and marketing reduces risk and delays. Like I said, this kind of ties in everything that we've been saying. Make sure all parties are on the same page here. Reactive hiring is not a good thing. Proactive hiring is what we want to do. I've got one more slide I want to share with you guys here, not on this screen here. Share. Okay. I'm giving you guys the answers to the test. It's okay to screenshot this. It's okay to take pictures of it. I want you guys to all see this. This is a very important slide that we share with clients. The cost of not hiring a dermatologist. Obviously, what's on the left is probably the opposite on the right here. So let's talk about the positives to hiring. Increased revenue, increased new patients here. These are the things easily right off the bat. Increased referrals, improve caseload distribution. Now that provider that you were asking to see 40 to 45 patients a day, their sweet spot maybe is 30 to 35. Now the quality of care is getting better as well. Enhanced service offerings. Maybe you got a provider that he's just constantly seeing, gen derm after gen derm case, but he's got a huge cosmetic following out there and loves to do different, lasers and devices, but he just doesn't have time to get to those. If you can have them, more focused on the cosmetic and aesthetic side of things, that opens up a whole new revenue stream for you guys as well. Improve patient conditions as well. You want these reviews out there that people are saying you're the one-stop shop. You can do everything for them out there. So what's the total revenue gain? $1 to $2 million is what we estimate per, physician provider. MPs, PAs, probably about half of that is what they're bringing in. So if you're not hiring, you're $1 million short. Now, so take the time, invest the $30, $40, $50,000 that it takes to make a good hire, to make that $1 million. Wouldn't it be great to go back to your boss tomorrow and be like, hey, I've got a great way that we can increase the bottom line here. It's going to take an investment. These are the exact steps we're going to use to get there. So make sure like you have the thought out plan, and it can increase the bottom line tremendously and quickly for you as well if done in the right way. So that, Michael, I'll kick it back to you for some more case studies here.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's so interesting that you talk about that long lead time on the hiring decisions. We find this also too tremendously with lead engagement for like when patients are actually inquiring as well too. I was just meeting a practice this past weekend, not a client of ours, but had a 2 week backlog of like fresh inquiries that of patients that were looking to become converted. And to your point, like whether you're hiring the right people, whether you're trying to bring patients into the door, people just don't have time to wait. There's an immediacy that is needed. If I'm inquiring about that job, I want to know that that employer is going to be very, very responsive to saying, you know what, got your resume, reviewed your credentials. When can we have a conversation? It's absolutely sends a message in terms of what you care about and how you invest. And so love that because we find a lot of that correlation within marketing as well. Brent, you brought up a subject matter on the importance of having a really good biography on your website, and I could not agree more with that. It really it extends beyond just having a good website. It's about having a complete online presence, right? Because that's what you're showing potential employees that you are active in this space. That again, that you're caring about how your business is coming across to potential patients as well. Reviews placate a strong role in that. Consistency with social media, and I use that word consistency because guys, if you're posting maybe a video like once a month, it's just simply not enough. It's something that you have to be feeding these platforms to show them not only that you care, but that's what also potential employees also look at as well too. They want to find providers that are active in their space, that they're engaged with their patient base. Going back to the biography thing that you had mentioned, and so one of the big shifts that we've seen in terms of how websites are going to be optimized on Google and how they're going to be trafficked on Google has a lot to do with AI shifts. And 3 years ago when ChatGPT came out, it really caused a big disruption in terms of how we use content to find resources. And Brent, I don't know if you've done a Google search recently, or even for anyone that's on this as well too, but one of the things that you might notice is that Google is now heavily promoting what it's called its new AI search overview here. I live outside of Philadelphia, so I just happened to do a Google search here just by asking Google, who is the best dermatologist in Philadelphia? hey, you know what? If I'm looking to work at a dermatology practice, I might want to understand who is the best and maybe start to also build my target list around who some of these practices are. So why are some of these practices showing up here? Because we find that, with this new AI search overview, and guys, pay attention. This is now the top of search results. This is something that's coming before the map pack. This is coming which is right down here. This is something that is being shown and promoted more before sponsored ads. And so we're now starting to enter this environment of no click. Google's just now giving us these resources here, check them out, and there we go. But how do we get positioned here? And again, this goes back to how well-rounded your internet strategy is. So to compete for visibility, there's an acronym that you should know. It's called EEAT, and it stands for experience, expertise, authority factors, as well as website trustworthiness. If you guys go to my Instagram, I recently shot a little kind of sketch video on this to help you to educate this a little bit further. But when we talk about the experience factor, this has everything to do with a provider's biography on the website. What Google wants to understand and what Google wants to promote are practitioners, doctors that are really craftspersons, that they understand their space well. And so much of your biography helps us to understand that. So I would encourage you, go to your website and go to your biography. Like, do you have a very robust biography? Do you talk about what your educational background is, where you went to undergrad, where you went to medical school, what you specialize in with aesthetics, the different organizations that you might be a part of? Like, is your biography actively saying stuff that reflects that? Or is it more mundane? Is it more benign? And I'll share this website here with you guys just to help to give you a sense of an understanding. Oops, it's actually broken here. But when we start to go down here and find the provider's biography, well, sorry guys, I was going to actually share this with you, but it seems like this is not a website that we had built here, by the way. So I apologize for sharing this, but just note that this the provider's biography on this website, it's just very benign. There's not a lot of description in terms of who the doctor is, what his training was. It's very, very important that you list out all of these credentials, how many patients that you've served, because ultimately that's helping to promote your visibility in this new AI search overview that we're finding. Now, there's other factors as well too. I want to hone in and talk about what the A means. A means authority. That basically goes back to what are some of the peripheral factors in terms of how your digital strategy has been constructed that really don't touch the website, but they have a lot to deal with your Google visibility. That can include things like the optimization of your Google business profile, how many reviews that you might have, so on and so forth. And let me help to give you guys a bit of an understanding here, because reviews matter just as equally as having a great looking website, because this is one of the first impression points that potential employees or even new patients are going to have of your practice. Brent, I'm going to make an assumption that perhaps you know Dr. Paul Nassif. For those of you who do not know Dr. Paul Nassif is a celebrity plastic surgeon. He was on the TV show Botched. You see him all over TV. The man has a very, very, very robust marketing budget that I'm sure of. But here's the deal. When you Google Paul Nassif, this is what you find. And for those of you that are here, you might be thinking to yourself, well, gosh, for a guy that's this well known, why the heck does he only have 63 Google reviews? And if you're thinking that, you're not incorrect. So let's kind of dive in here, guys, because here's the thing. In today's age, it's just not enough to have a high rating. But what you need to have is Google review consistency. It's the consistency part that matters. The more often in new reviews that are there, that sends a signal to potential employees that, again, your practice is actively doing great work today. And what employee would not want to be a part of a practice that's creating a ton of happy people? That's going to help to elevate their career. That's going to help to elevate your ability to drive more patient lifetime value. But when we go to Dr. Nass's Google page here and we sort to the newest, you can see that his last review was unfortunately not a great review, and it was from 4 months ago. As we go down a little bit further, the gap time between these two reviews was 2 months. The gap time between these two reviews was 4 months. And again, lacking a lot of consistency, despite how well known his name might be because he's all over TV. This profile is very much inconsistent in terms of the quality and the newness of reviews. But whatever, he's a celebrity plastic surgeon. Let's take a look at his website, and we go to the website, and boy golly, this is a beautiful website. Just as I was talking about earlier, it's got a great vibe. It's got a great imagery. It just has an essence of what you want to be a part of, okay? And also too, while we did not build this, it converts very well. Again, phone numbers easily to find, strong calls to actions down here on the side of the screen. So what we would take from this case study here is that a great looking website like this is going to forgive a passive review strategy, okay? Let's just put a pin in that for the time being. And we're going to call Dr. Nassif Goliath in this story because he's the guy that everybody knows. Now, let me talk to you about his competitor, David. David's real name is Dr. Ermin Desai. Now, Dr. Desai relatively flies well under the radar. He's not a celebrity surgeon. Even when I talk to other aesthetic surgeons in this field, they don't really know who this guy is. But what's the first thing that you notice when you look at the guy that no one really knows? He's got 901 Google reviews, everybody. 901. No one knows who he is. So clearly, you want to be, you're interested in this. What's this all about? What is he doing? And guys, I have known Ermin Desai for over a decade. And one thing I can say about this man is that he is incredibly consistent. You cannot get him off kilter. He commits to the discipline of consistency with his marketing. So when we go to the newest here, take a look at this. Last review was from 5 days ago, 5 days ago, a week ago, a week ago, 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Guys, I'm not even past a month yet. And by the way, when a review on Google, pardon me, is aged less than 4 weeks, Google assigns it this new tag. So this is Google's way of saying, hey, wink, wink, this is what's important. These are the narratives that you should be paying attention to. So again, very well disciplined in terms of how he creates the sense of consistency with his Google review strategy. I should also add to this, guys, that Google reviews are a part of your visibility. It's one of the signaling factors that Google is looking for. As a matter of fact, when I go back to this AI overview here, Google is telling us these are factors that you as a potential patient employee should consider. One of the things that is cited here is patient reviews and recommendations. And so again, we can clearly see how this is affirming a sense of quality care in a practice. Now that you know this here, let me show you Dr. Desai's website. And again, just as a quick recap, Paul Nassif, inconsistent Google review strategy. Boy, he's got a beautiful website. Ermin Desai, super, super, super consistent. This is the man's website. Now, guys, remember what I said earlier. First impressions matter. Okay? Now, does this look like it represents who a Harvard-educated, double board-certified, double fellowship plastic surgeon might be? I hope the answer is very clear. Does this look like a practice that you would want to go to? No. But in this particular case, it doesn't matter. It's clearly not what is helping to drive his business and drive his exposure. It's what people are finding here. Guys, please don't take away that don't make the takeaway here of saying, well, I just need to concentrate on better reviews and it's going to attract all the best people into my practice, either employees or patients. No, that's not what I'm saying. But you do have to have a well-rounded strategy. You have to give everybody a reason to say, boy, this is energy that I really want to be a part of. So again, does your practice have a review generation process? Do you have text message based applications that allow you to upload a list of your patients and send all those Google review requests out to them? So that way they can ultimately be converted to that profile and send that message of greatness out to potential employees that want to consider working at your practice. Again, these are all the factors that really come together to be able to attract the top talent. So again, hopefully this kind of gives you guys a little bit more of a well-rounded awareness in terms of what you need to be doing here. Guys, we have about 10 more minutes left here on our webinar this evening. And so I want to kind of open this up here a little bit as well too. Brent and I, we're here to serve. We're here to help you. What questions might you have here for us? This is your time to ask, the experts anything relative to really how marketing and HR really placates into driving the right type of talent into your practice. And so let's leave the Q&A open here for a little bit. Guys, please don't be shy. And we're not going to drag this on either. So, I mean, if we don't have any questions, we'll be able to wrap this up and let you guys get into your dinner time. Do we build websites? Yes, we do. That's one of the things that MyAdvice specializes in is we build amazingly beautiful websites that convert leads on a very high level. Some of the sites that I was sharing with you, and guys, I'm so sorry, I'm just getting over the flu, so I'm a little bit coughing here, but some of the sites that I was sharing with you guys earlier were sites that we have built. If you would like, I'm going to show you how to contact me in just a few moments. Feel free to set up a complimentary consultation and we can talk a little bit more about how we can help you. We have another question here, Brent. What's the cost to use MyDermRecruiter to hire a dermatologist?
Yeah, so I think the best thing about using our services is that we are 100% contingency based, meaning we only charge you a fee if we successfully hire. So what we always tell people is pay for results. Do not go and pay retainers who are never going to turn up, the right candidate for you. We bet on our success. We are the #1 dermatology recruitment firm in the country. Let us show you why. If we successfully are able to hire for you, a physician costs anywhere between $30,000 to $35,000, and then NPs and PAs are between about $14,000 to $16,000 as well. But again, make sure that you're investing. Like I said, so many times practices think they can do it on their own. We are not exclusive. Do it with us. We want to work with you guys to hire out there. Let us bring the candidates to you. We've got that national reach and exposure for you guys. Our job board is, like I said, the largest job board in the nation. We're scraped by about 30 to 35 other job boards as well out there right now. So by posting with us, you're going to get your opportunity seen absolutely everywhere out there. So like I said, don't be afraid to, call and use other outside resources before it's too late is, kind of the biggest thing I can emphasize. And like Michael said, I'll give you guys my contact information at the end of this as well, but I'd be more than happy to set up a free consult with you, kind of, tell me what's going on with your practice. I'll tell you if we can help you or not. Like I said, we are a very transparent and open and honest company. Like I said, we're here to help you guys, especially the private practices. That's what we're designed to partner with every day.
Awesome. Brent, how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah. So the easiest way here, let me put my information here up on screen. Let me just share that real quick with you guys. This was, like I said, three quick moves to better attract, talent, audit your online employer and brand, like Michael was saying, define your culture clearly, and then start building the talent pipeline before you need it, as we discussed. Now here, let's connect. Easiest way to get a hold of me is email, brent@mydermrecruiter.com. I've got my business phone number on here as well as my cell phone. Like I said, I am very open. Call, text me, whatever's convenient for you. Like I said, I would love to set up a conversation with you guys and let's talk. What are your hiring needs for 2025? Let's talk about 2026. Let's get on the schedule with me. I'm happy to hear from anybody. Michael.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah. Let me share my screen here in a second. So guys, if your practice is in a position where, again, you're needing some help on your messaging, you're needing some help on filling up your lead coffers, you're needing some help really attracting that right type of talent into your practice, would love to be able to set up a consultation with you guys. The link, the QR code over here to the left links directly into my calendar. feel free to schedule a completely free and complimentary 30-minute consult with me. We're going to kind of go through everything relative to your online strategy, what's working, what needs to be improved upon. So please, I'll leave this here for you guys as well too. Once you schedule, you'll get my email, you'll get my cell phone, all that. Maybe you're not necessarily ready, but you would love to keep in touch. Again, follow me on Instagram. I'm constantly publishing, helpful content to help keep healthcare practices apprised in terms of best practices with digital marketing and how the evolution of AI is really affecting a lot of the search visibility landscape. So I would encourage you guys to follow me here on Instagram as well too. So with all of that being said, I'll go back here one more time to the Q&A. If we do not have any other questions, which it looks like it does not, we're going to be ending about 5 minutes early here. So Brent, my friend, thank you so much. This has been
Thanks, Michael.
a pleasure. I've been wanting to really put together some content on the intersection with HR and marketing for quite some time. So I hope for those of you that have attended or that are watching this, you found this to be incredibly valuable for your practice. And so, guys, thank you again. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you around some of the trade show halls one of these days. Take good care.
Thanks, guys.